Welcome to an episode of Subconscious Realms International Roundtable. I'm your host, General Lee, and for tonight we are being joined by two extraordinary guests. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the host and creator of the Texas Live podcast, Tex. Now then, Tex. And we have the host and creator of Demonosphere and Beyond, Zero.
How's it going?
Sorry to add, Zero is also an author as well. The author of The Grimoire of Damnation. Well, now then, Zero. Now then, Tex.
Hey.
Are you okay?
I'm doing good. How's everybody else doing?
I'm peachy.
Peachy? That fucking ages. So, what have you been up to, Zero?
Oh, no good. But no, right now I'm just working with the Watcher Angels, and I'm working with the Fallen Angels as well.
Ah, fascinating, mate. Could you shed a bit of light on that for us, please, mate?
Sure.
On what entails?
I started getting into the Fallen Angels because I was working with Lilith, and Lilith recommended Azazel to me. She said that he was like a father figure, and that he was one of the darkest fallen angels that there was. So I created my own ritual in order to contact him. And really, he's more of a balanced entity. He's about darkness and light, and really encourages balance. As one of the leaders of the Watcher Angels, I was able to get his blessing to contact the other Watchers and work with them. And that's where I began to learn more about angelic behavior, and basically how they work, and come to the conclusion that they're not really fallen. Because once I got involved with them, then I started reading other material like the Book of Enoch, and going to other grimoires for reference.
Okay. The Book of Enoch. You're familiar with that, aren't you, Tex?
Yes, and there's the Book of Aziel, which is similar to the Book of the Book of Jasher, and there's countless books that are valid books, but they're just not mentioned in the Bible. So
right.
There's a lot of people that say, well, if it's not mentioned in the Bible, it's bad. Well, that's not true. I mean, that's so the wealth of knowledge is out there. So,
well, the interesting thing is that the Book of Enoch used to be canon in the Bible, but I feel like because it didn't fit the narrative of the church, they took it out, just like all the other Apocrypha and the Nag Hammadi scriptures as well.
Absolutely right, because the Gospel of, or not the Gospel, but the Book of Enoch, it's fascinating, and it lines up with Genesis chapter 6, when it says that the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were fair and took of them which they chose, and it's talking about the Watchers on Mount Hermon that that made a pact. Well, the Genesis 6 is kind of the short story, and what explains that in a very long detailed form is the Book of Enoch. That's the backstory, and it's very fascinating.
But one of the
it's quite.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Zero. Sorry, mate. No, it's okay, mate. I've got notes anyway. What I'm gonna ask you in a minute.
Well, I was just going to point out that the reason why I don't think that fallen angels are fallen is because in the Book of Enoch, it states that every luminary has its set path. So if the path for the luminaries, and the luminaries pertain to the angels, because if you go to the definition of a luminary, it means someone who inspires or a source of light, and angels are both. So if these angels are on a set path, they were supposed to take this course. Like, this was the way they were, let's say, programmed. Which is why I don't believe that they are fallen. And in the Book of Enoch, they even, these angels aren't evil, because they loved mankind. They say that the fallen angels, they hate mankind and stuff like that. But if you take the time to teach somebody anything, that's not showing them hate. And in the Book of Enoch, the way that God punished these angels, he didn't say that they couldn't come to heaven. He didn't destroy them. He killed their families. And
Right.
if
The
he was
Nephilim.
going, if he was going to punish the families, and actually the Nephilim are second generation, which a lot of people don't understand. But like, if these angels did not love their families, why would God punish them by destroying the families?
Right. Wouldn't even bother them if they hated them.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, there's no way in my mind that I can read these things and say, oh, these angels are the bad guys. It's like, no.
But you when I read that, what I'm saying, or what I'm thinking is to properly dissect that narrative and that story, and to glean the knowledge from that properly, is you have to remove yourself from the from judging from your perspective, no matter what it is, on what is evil, what is good and evil. You have to do away with that and read that from a neutral perspective, because if you think about it, when it says evil, that's just something that doesn't line up or is against what what God has said in that particular story. And it's like with I guess just the terms good and evil. There, what is good to one person is evil to another person. So I mean, it's not relative. It's or it's relative to each person. And one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist. I mean, it just, so that's one thing to keep in mind when you're reading something like that, is that like you said, they were teaching man, but in the narrative, God did not want man to be to have that knowledge, to be enlightened. And so if they were teaching man, believing they were doing something that was good, that was helping man, even though it may have been bad for him, but they thought it was good. How is that bad? I mean, are you getting what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah, I understand.
it's and like you said, um, they when it says that they fell, well, man fell too. So I mean, we don't walk around saying fallen man. Well, I guess some people do, but it's whenever I talk to people, and I my view has changed a lot, in 30 something years. But it's like when you think about it, okay, what what are we? We are all a part of God, because the Bible says that that God is one, and that God lives within each person. God, and so if that's true, then then there then how can someone how can anyone be lost and not make it? And what I'm saying is if there was one part of God that didn't make it back to source, then that would make God incomplete, and I just can't see that happening. I mean, it's like I I think that it may take a lot of time, but I do think that um, through experience or cycles, that we all make it. I mean, through just experience. And, um, it's I see that see the concept of well, fail, you go to hell, and the door closes, as being just just doesn't line up with what what we're told in scripture, that it's like, um, God loves you unconditionally, and know gave His life for you, so you wouldn't so you would have everything. But if you don't accept Him as your Savior, His Son as your Savior, you're going to burn in hell forever in total agony, and there's no escape. But He loves you. It's like, does not make sense. Come on. And but just like you said, Zero, that that the that the church, the Roman Catholic Church, they they threw out so many books. And I'll tell you this, and most of you probably know, but they that how the Bible that you have today, 66 books that compile the Bible, um, how they were chosen. Now, um, there was they the church had they were going back and forth on what books would be selected, and they were they would choose books, and then supposedly under the guidance of the Holy Spirit. And the only thing that they were uh, really doing was creating a hell, because they were, no, we want these books, we want these books, back and forth, back and forth. And so it was decided by these cardinals and these high-ranking archbishops, and that they would uh, they would put books on on the on the floor or on the table, on this table, and they would leave and lock the door, and they would pray. And when they came back, the books that were on the table would be the books that would compile the Bible. Okay, so when they came back, there were the books on the table, on this vast table, that they had prayed that God would, divinely choose, and said, there was no one that 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 had access to that room uh, where that conclave was held. And so, it came back, and there you go. It was a miracle, and it was divine. And I'm thinking, objection, Your Honor. To say that a locked door, there's no access, you're forgetting one thing. Who has the key to the door? That's who chose the books. That's your God right there. It's like, open your eyes, people. They're like, oh, wow, that's amazing. I mean, the books were chosen by God. No, they weren't. Come on. I mean, it's like, oh my God. I mean, please wake up to the fact that the books in the Bible were chosen by a man or men. I mean, come on. They went in when all the other cardinals and priests and stuff were sleeping or whatever, and they chose the books they wanted, threw them up on the table, and left, locked the door, and hey, the rest is history. Oh man, there's always a backstory that you have to sift through and kind of do some Perry Mason, detective work, and you'll find out what really happened.
Oh yeah, that's and the funny thing is, I was talking to this person who was a historian in college, and they were like, "Oh, I love history," and like I hated history, and I was basically dumping on history until I realized how much history I knew because of magic, and I was like, "Wait, I'm a historian myself," because you have to look up the roots of these things in order to understand what you're studying.
Right.
And
And with magic, of course, I mean, I'm no scholar on it like you are, but I do know that one one thing or you need several things to guide you, and one is like you said, history, but also symbolism and the history of symbols to guide you through the labyrinth of that, because it can be very confusing and really get you in some take you down the wrong path if you're not careful. I mean,
oh yeah, absolutely. I think and that's the whole danger about interpretation. I think that a lot of the Bible books and the Bible scriptures that are in the Bible are up for a lot of interpretation and can be used for multiple things. If you're sincere, then it can be used for a good purpose. But as we've seen with the church, it's been used for a lot of evil. Um, if I'm going to use that word, because by my standards, some evil shit has been done by the church.
absolutely it.
But like
Well, well,
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
well, when you say church, what you mean, just like me, is you're talking about religion, the religious system,
Yes. Yeah.
the the religious hierarchy, which it is absolutely evil. There's been more blood spilled, more people murdered, more bloodshed on earth caused by religion than any other thing, than all other things put together. It is the Bible in the book of Rev, in the book of Revelation talks about the beast system, and it is describing the religious system, the system of the Antichrist that the Bible talks about is the very thing that you that most people who call themselves Christians and believers, they go to every week. They run to this organized, man-made religious system, and that's what the Bible itself is describing as the system of the beast. Now, what is the beast? The beast is not Satan. It's not some devil. It's not some demon. The beast is your ego. It says that um, that it has that the beast, is antichrist. Well, if you look and you read about your ego, it is the direct opposite of everything that Christ is, or stands for. It is selfish. It is me, and it serves itself above all others, and that's why that you have to keep it in check. And there's Bible stories that and verses that talk about that very thing, but it's in metaphorical language in story form, like a parable that basically says, okay, look, there's just like in Genesis chapter 4, God tells Cain, when Cain was very upset, very, very, ticked off and enraged, God said, basically, be careful. He says, because sin is crouched at your door, wanting to master you, wanting to control you. He says, but you must master it. Okay, that that is that is an that is metaphorical language. It's an allegory for all of us, for every human being, that you, when you get angry, when you get enraged, it is because your ego has been wounded one way or another. And you want revenge, you want to get back. And it's saying, watch out, because your ego is at the door, wanting, telling you, hey, get back at this person, take what's yours, don't let them get away with it. And God says, tells him, God, which is your higher self, is saying, don't do it, don't fall for it. It's at the door of your mind, and it wants to consume you, it wants to control you, and ultimately destroy you. And it will. I mean, if you don't keep it in check. And so what happens in that narrative is things like, nah, got to get, I got to save face, I've got to serve the ego, and he ends up, playing his brother, and that's it. It's like, um, when you read and you interpret what is written in those terms, with seeing that it's talking about you, the processes in your own mind, then it ceases to be, fairy tale, like, reading a fairy tale that couldn't possibly happen. Something that happens in every one of us, that we face. So, um, you tell people that the Bible is certainly not a history book. I mean, it's it's not based on actual historical events, although there are some that are mentioned. Most of it is not based on history. It is more of a psychology book on how your mind works.
And the funny thing is, when I started to study magic and become more mature in my studies, I started looking at the Bible from a different perspective, and it started making more sense when you start understanding the symbolism, when you stop taking it literally,
Absolutely.
and then when you look at it from a Gnostic perspective. And then you
Mhm.
also have the Apocrypha, as well as the non-Hammadi scriptures, to go along with your studies. That's
Which
when
is
all the
why
holes start being filled.
Yes, absolutely, and that's why for all the listeners out there that are questioning, this, think about it. The Gnostics, they knew they knew the truth, and that's why that the Roman Catholic Church hunted them down and every killed all of them they could. That's why that the church the church hunted these people down. They killed men, women, and children. It did not matter because why? Because they were a threat to the religious system of the Roman Catholic Church and organized religion. And that's why that that the church, the religious system, hunted these people down and killed them with impunity, with cruelty that is unequaled in all of history. They didn't care. They wanted to set an example that if you did not toe the line, if you did not uh, submit to the authority of that religious system, that you would die a horrible death. And millions did because they knew the truth. And it is it's the perfect setup. I mean, I have to give them that 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 the that the system, that the structure that they built is the very structure that causes hell on earth and causes many people hell, while simultaneously being the refuge that people run to from that hell. Yeah, that's the perfect, that's the perfect setup.
Yeah.
Um,
I know it's going a bit off what we've just been talking about, but what's the difference in a watcher and a fallen angel?
Well, a fallen angel is supposedly just an angel that has um, gone against what God wants. Like going against their natural programming, so to speak.
Yeah.
So not all the Watchers are fallen. You have Azrael, which was the angel of death, and not the one that kills people, the one that guides the dead to where they need to go, and also helps the families to cope with the death of that loved one. And because he was the one that was dealing with the dead souls, he was not tempted by the women, and therefore he was supposedly, according to lore, this is all according to lore, he was not there when the other Watchers were tempted and decided to take the pact to go down to Earth and take corporeal bodies and be with these women. So,
Right.
Watchers is just a class of angels. It's a type of angels, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're fallen.
Right. Okay. So Watcher's a class of angel. Is would that be, for example, a seraphim angel?
Sure. Like you have
Right.
the
Okay.
different, like let's say they're a different species or a different family, because with the Watchers, that's kind of how they treat each other. It's kind
Like
of
a
like,
hierarchy. Right.
yeah, it's somewhat of a hierarchy, but like it's a lot more like family, and it's kind of like if you have a certain strength, that is just the position that you fall in. So if you're leader material, you fall in the leadership position. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're better than the others. It's just that this is how things work, because this is how
Just
this is your specialty.
right. A bit like a superpower type.
Sure.
Right. And which is the very highest category of angel?
That's up for grabs. They're like I don't know the categories very well. but I know that there are some angels that are supposedly like slivers of God that combine to form God, and then there are angels that are very close to God. For example, Metatron is supposed to be very close to God. Then you have.
Also say the class of that's called cherubim. And as a matter of fact, I think that not mistaken.
You said
I think that
cherubim. Did you say that, mate? Cherubim.
Right.
Okay.
And that is actually cherubim. The ch in Greek is the hard K, but it's been pronounced with the ch, the cha instead of ka. So when you say cherubim, it's actually cherubim. But there in the Bible, it says that in the book of says that in the Garden of Eden, when man fell, that God threw Adam and Eve from the garden and set guarded the tree of life with four flaming swords. And what that actually means is that he put the four cherubim on each side of the tree of life to guard it. And so that's where the four cherubim come from, and supposedly that's the highest group of angels, just right above the massive seraphim. But that's up for interpretation, because you can read that there's different classes and how they're structured, and then somewhere else it's a different structure. So it's just up for interpretation, how people take it. But there were two that were on top of the Ark of the Covenant, and some people say that was those were the angels Sandalphon and Metatron that were depicted on top of the Ark of the Covenant, and that was where God supposedly sat between the wings of the two angels on top of the Ark of the Covenant. And again, that would be most people say that Sandalphon and Metatron. Now, Metatron is supposedly the prophet Enoch that was taken to heaven, and also where the Book of Enoch comes from. He was a scribe and was a prophet, and that he was transformed into the angel Metatron. Now,
right.
I don't know the details about that. Zero, you probably know much more about that than I do, but I do know that much, that Metatron is supposedly the man Enoch, the prophet, the scribe, that was transformed into Metatron. So,
What I know about Metatron is that in the Bible it says that God took Enoch. In lore, Enoch became Metatron, and all the angels were kind of upset. They were like, well, we've always been angels. What does this human have, that we don't? To become so close to God. In fact, they were kind of complaining so much that in order for God to show the other angels that nobody was above reproach, he beat Metatron 60 times with a whip, which is kind of a hardcore story. You know,
Dude, nothing ever changes, does it? It's like all the other angels are like, like whatever you want to call it, like white privilege or black privilege, I mean, he's cutting line, it's like our lives matter, it's like, and nothing ever changes, it's like, I don't care what you do in the angelic world, the human world, or whatever, you're always going to have somebody that's going to be screaming and ticked off and ready to just beat somebody with a whip. It's like, man,
I don't know. Like it's like some of the stories that you come upon when you study this stuff are crazy, but I do find that in my gnosis, like the so-called light angels, they're pretty elitist. Gabriel, most of all, like they're like, you have you ever seen like the movies that depict Gabriel? Like if you watch Constantine, Gabriel is a dick. If you watch that one where Michael came to Earth and all the angels were attacking the humans and they were looking all demonic and stuff, and it had that
Legion.
Legion. Gabriel was the bad guy. He was the one. He was like, "Oh,
Right.
God wants everybody dead, so I'm gonna kill them all." And Michael was like, "Dude, like you're constantly like trying to kiss his ass, and that's not necessarily what he needs." Gabriel is really vicious like that. I don't know what his problem is. But yeah, with Metatron,
He was like the one.
No, go ahead.
In the movies, not the comedies, but the serious movies. Gabriel's the one walking around slapping the shit out of everybody, and Michael's the one going chill, dude, chill, and he's like taking care of the people that Gabriel slapped. It's like, okay, I can really see the I mean, it's basically it's taken way past what it means, but I can really see how that happens, or what that is talking about, or you symbolizing in our own mind, is that there's that part of us that, yeah, I mean, some days you really, and don't deny it. That's one thing you have to do, is you have to um you you have to embrace your own darkness if
Absolutely.
you are ever going to em- embrace the light, because it's not like that you can embrace the light and leave your darkness behind, because it's all you. You can't leave part of yourself behind. And um, so those people that walk around and they're like, uh, you know, hey, I'm I don't have any darkness in me. I'm like, my liar and bullshit alarm goes off. Like, man, no, everybody does. Some days you want to slap people's teeth out. I don't care, what. But there's that part of you that when you do, there's part of you that you think, why did I act that way towards this person, And so, those that's that's what I see as being the angels, whether it be Michael and Gabriel, or the different ones, and that leads to something else that I was going to ask, is in my research and my study on angels and demons and things like that, is that that I've helped people for 30 years this year, um, that would call me or contact me as having spiritual problems, negative, whether you're going to call them demons or what, and different activity in their homes and things like that, and some within themselves, and the the thing that I noticed and learned was the more and more people that I helped and ministered to, is that it was not something that was outside of that person, or better yet, it was it the things that were happening within their homes and things, the what you would call paranormal activity, or it was not originating from a foreign source like a demon or an entity or angel outside of that person. It was originating from that person's mind. And what I found was that all of the demons, or whatever you want to call them, they were not what we've been led to or taught that they are. They were aspects of that person's mind that had gone astray or gone rogue or very confused, and the activity that would take place in people's homes or wherever, um, as strange and freaky as some of that activity was, I could not get away from the fact that it was that person that was doing that, and whether they realized it or not, they were the ones that were actually causing that activity. And so I began researching and studying the Judaism, ancient Judaism, which would be the Kabbalah and things like that, and um, they you say that the 72 demons of Solomon that supposedly built the temple of God and things like that, that those were the 72 aspects of the human mind. And that was my question: is what is your opinion on that, Zero? That are they actual um, entities that are separate from us, or are they part of the human mind? What's your thoughts on that?
I believe they're both. And this is coming from recent experience with Lilith. Lilith has told me that she is a part of me, but also that she has her own life. I feel that every single spirit, entity, deity, whatever you want to call it, however you want to perceive it, we are trickled down from that. Like you had the source split, and the source kept splitting. And so we are pieces of all of that. So we're related to all of these entities. They may have their own, their own lives and whatever they do higher up on the chain. But at the same time, like, we all have that connection. We can all tap into those things. And like, you were right when you talked about shadow work. Like, you have to learn to accept yourself, because if you don't accept yourself, if you bottle up certain things, then that pressure is going to build until they come out in a negative way. For example, let's say you have a a person who suppresses their sexual appetites. Okay, that suppression can lead them to become, a pervert in a sense where they start doing some weird, crazy shit with sex. Like necrophilia, being into necrophilia, or becoming a pedophile and things like that. Um, and a lot of the possessions, I feel, come from people who don't understand what demons are, and they reject these parts of themselves and treat those parts of themselves like an enemy. Okay, so like
Really?
when you treat a demon like an enemy right off the rip, of course you're going to have negative responses. Of course, like that demon is going to retaliate because that is the part of you that protects yourself, and it's protecting
You're
itself.
rejecting.
Yes.
Right. That you're rejecting.
Yes. So it's going to fight
Absolutely.
back, and because it knows you best, it's going to tear you up.
And just one thing is that is brilliant, because when you reject you reject anyone, you are setting up the or I should say, it is instantaneously, you have said it is me against you, basically, or you have set the your premise for that taking place. You have set the premise for adding an additional enemy in your life. It's like because human nature. I don't care what anybody says. It's like yeah. Well, I don't care if I'm rejected or not. You know what? You do, because it's human nature. When you're rejected, people say, yeah, well, it pisses me off to be rejected. No, it hurts. It hurts. You know, like, yeah, it hurts. Just admit it. I don't care who rejects you. When you're rejected, it hurts. And so you automatically, you don't just walk off and, say, it doesn't bother me. No, if you say that, you're also saying in your mind, how can I get this person back? It's like, man. So it's automatically it is that, about, what am I looking for? That, um, hmm, I don't know, that, um, oh man, just left me. But you are setting that up for that, um, what is that? That war. It's just like Young, like he talks about, is he talks about doing the shadow work, and he said exactly what you said, Zero. Anything that you repress is going to become stronger. Like the more you push it down, or you try to keep it at bay, you're just you're just making it stronger. And Young says too, he says, and it is inevitable. It's going to come out. It's going to explode. It's going to rise up. Cannot keep it down. So that's what he says as far as shadow work is. You have to integrate that. You don't reject it, because that's just another form of repressing it. You have to embrace it, and I guess redirect it or guide it into a better place, but where where it's where it's not in control, and where you control it instead of it controlling you. And that, what you said was just brilliant, because that is the truth. I mean, through and through.
Right, right. So, do you know the Book of Enoch? Right. Well, what's your opinion on why it's almost disregarded?
With the Book of Enoch, not only does it kind of portray the fallen angels in a different light, but it also portrays the idea of death differently from what the church wants us to believe. Back in the day,
Right.
the Catholic Church was talking about everybody's going to hell. They wanted people to pay for their family members to get out of hell. However, the Book of Enoch talks about how there are several empty spaces that are designed to hold human souls. I think it was like three spaces, um, and it wasn't talking about these people going to hell because there was a space for good people. There was a space for people who were not believers, but they were considered bad because they weren't believers. And then there was like a space for the bad people.
Right.
And it didn't say anything about torture. Didn't say anything about anybody burning. It was just like, here are these shells that are created for these dead human souls, and that was it. It said that the ones that were good had like a fountain that they could, I guess, drink from.
Fountain.
Yeah, but the other ones were just kind of lingering together. As far as this is what I got in my mind from what I was reading. But at no time was it talking about demons torturing anybody or anybody burning or something like that.
And you never mentioned a devil or a Satan. Um, and two, that's the same way with Judaism and Kabbalah is there is no Satan there's no devil, as the church has invented this this nemesis of God that is hell bent on destroying mankind. But they say in or believe in Judaism, Kabbalah, that that Satan is a Hebrew word meaning adversary, and it can be the government, it can be your job, it can be your spouse, anything that is against you in life, be Satan, an adversary. But then there's Ha Satan, which is in Hebrew is the adversary, and it's different. It is that's where the church invented the devil, is from Ha Satan, the adversary. And in Judaism and Kabbalah, it does not mean a literal spiritual being that is the nemesis of God. It is the adversary, meaning your ego, the human ego.
Right.
If you read the Bible, when it talks about the devil, has come to kill, steal, and destroy, it is the same thing that your unrestrained ego will do in your life if you allow it to. It will kill you, it will steal everything you have, and it will destroy you. And one thing that would describe that would be a drug addict. If they are feeding that me. I want to feel good. I want pleasure. I want this. And unchecked, they just keep on until they lose everything, including their life. I mean, so. But
yeah.
Another
History
thing
again.
is that Satan is not just one individual. If you look at Islam, all right, when you have Iblis, who is supposed to be the version, Islam's version of the devil, he came from a whole clan of shaitan, which are a tribe of jinn that are described as the ones that don't supposedly like human beings.
Jinn is in like a spirit jinn.
Mm-hmm. Like
Right.
spirit jinn.
Right.
And man, I tell you, there are so many people, Middle Eastern, buddy. You even say the word jinn, everybody in the room will stop talking and just look at you like, what did you just say? I mean, they are terrified of the jinn. I mean, big time. They do not take it lightly. I mean, man.
Well, to be honest, I mean, there's good reason for that. I've had a few encounters with the jinn, and one of them was pretty bad. So, but at the same time, I don't think that the jinn should necessarily be feared. They should be understood, and I feel that people from that area, they respect the old ways because like there's a lot of energy stored in that area in the Middle East, and they I feel like the veil is probably thinner there because there are a lot of people, even close to like India and Bangladesh, where there are places where people will not go because supposedly they're haunted by jinn or some kind of supernatural creatures. And the jinn are very different from other spirits that I've met. Supposedly they have their own religions. They've always interacted with mankind because they were always, marrying other people, marrying human beings and things like that. And they have their own rules and their own ways.
Mm.
I don't think that the shaitan necessarily hate human beings. I think that they respect strength because I've talked to Iblis before, and Iblis never said anything about hating human beings. He was just talking about how, if somebody wrongs you, destroy them utterly.
Oh man.
you know, uh, but he never said anything that made me think that he hated human beings. It was just kind of like have a backbone, show some strength, and that
Right,
was it.
right, right. Which is what you have to do um, to hold your own and gain respect of anybody or anything really. But one thing, Zero, would you please tell us about your experience with the skin that you had?
The bad experience.
Right.
Oh yeah, okay, I'll do that. This is actually a
Thanks.
good one. I was working out of a book to connect with Jin, because to find the stuff from the Middle East, to find a good English translation is very hard. So I found this one book, and it was talking about how you have to tap into the source. It was talking about God, but like it was saying, oh, if you want to see it as source, then go ahead and do that. So I was like, okay, maybe if I try thinking of God as a source, because at this point in time, I did not like Christianity. I didn't like the idea of the Christian God. So like I was like, but I'll give it a try anyway. You know. So I think my idea of what God was kind of ruined the whole thing because when I tapped into source, it was basically like God saying, "Hey, I want you to be a white lighter only, and I want you to work
Want to be
for
a
me."
what, mate? What was that? Sorry. I'm going
A
to be a
white
what?
lighter, yeah, like just
Oh,
a white magician.
right.
With and I was like, no, I was like, I can use light as well as darkness. So why would I just use light? And I said, no, I'm not going to be your soldier. So the next thing um, that happened was a jinn came possessed me, and I became angry, like for no reason. And I just kept getting angry. Like I was trying to calm myself down and trying to ask myself, I'm like, why am I getting angry? And it was like my skin was on fire. And so,
Jeez.
yeah, and it was
Zero,
like,
you don't mess around, do you?
That's stuck right in.
like, no, like I don't care what God say. I don't care what demons or angels say. If they try to tell me to do something that I don't want, I'll be like, no, I'm not going to do that. But it sometimes gets me in trouble.
Jenner probably like you talking, around the campfire. They're like, man, that Zero dude does not mess around, does he?
But I've taken some L's for it. I'll admit that I've got my ass beat sometimes. But like my skin was on fire, and I was just getting angrier and angrier. And my thing is that one of the things I don't respect is I keep my magic to myself. Like I don't try to do things where like it puts my family or my friends in trouble or any danger. But this was affecting me to the point where like I could have like put my family in danger because my anger was just unchecked.
Yeah.
Fortunately, before I lost my mind, I knew a process of exorcism to exercise myself. And that was basically getting in contact with the Jinn King of that day of the week and saying, hey, look, I've got this problem with this Jinn. Can you take this Jinn out of here? And it worked. So fortunately, I was able to get out of a sticky situation.
Yeah.
Did it get to a point where the aggression was like nearly uncontrollable?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
right. So that is
like
extreme.
it was extreme to the point where I had to isolate myself, because if I was around anybody, like the first thing, like if you said something that annoyed me, like you were catching the hands. I was gonna like hurt you somehow. So
Jeez.
That right there is textbook for all of us is that Zero, you have learned, you have studied, you have researched, and so what makes the difference is you knew the signs, you knew what was happening to you, therefore you took the appropriate measures by secluding yourself away from everybody so nothing bad would happen. But think about those who have no idea what's going on, and the next thing they know, they've hurt or killed people. And
Yes.
I think that
Yes.
happens a lot every day. That people, they don't realize, they don't see what's actually happening, and the next thing they know, they come back to their senses, and they've done all this carnage and all this harm, and even murder, and then it's basically
That's exactly what I was thinking, Tex, mate.
They have destroyed their lives forever. I mean, in just a few seconds or minutes of rage that they just didn't recognize.
Exactly what I was thinking, mate. 'Cause, I mean, an example, look at the serial killers.
Right.
That's like a prime example. Potentially, I'm not saying that's what it is, but
well, more for me, it would be like the father or the husband or whatever that just snaps.
yeah,
And next thing there's dead people and people that are hurt. Not for me, it would not so much be like a person that was planning it. It would be somebody that just had an acute case of insanity, I guess, or
a crime
rage.
of passion.
Right.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
just hits you from like nowhere, and you just do horrible things in an instant, and then when you come back to yourself, people are going, man, I never knew he was capable, she was capable of doing something like that. You know what? They weren't either. They didn't know. It's like, so man, that is really scary when you think about it.
But one of the biggest rules in magic is to know thyself. Like you have to understand your thoughts from thoughts that are being kind of like put into your conscious. You have to understand your own feelings and who you are outside of the influence of like media or your contemporaries. Once you understand that, you can gauge the changes that the magic makes in you, whether they're for good or for bad, negative or positive. And so, like, when you start understanding like those subtle changes that happen within you, and you understand magic, you understand how to kind of like counteract the changes that you don't want.
Yeah.
So,
it's a complicated process, really, I guess.
It is, because we're all complicated.
Yeah.
We've got so many aspects, and we've got so much going on within our minds, within our hearts. It's a storm. It's a shit show, like, and so like I've said before, like I've been doing this for over 16 years. It takes time, and it's a lifetime process. You don't there is no reaching perfection.
Yeah. Do you think that a lot of people rush into it and think that they're sort of like over expecting too soon, and maybe they're rushing into it, and that's why?
Absolutely. That's exactly what I tell everybody when they ask me. They say, "Okay, how long does it take to become enlightened?" I'm like, okay. First off, you're completely on the wrong track. Your question tells me everything. Why? Because, like you said, Zero, it is a lifelong process. I mean, it is. We have become accustomed to fast food, express lane, HOV lane, everything. These, it's like, even now when you people, want to become a doctor or whatever, they're like, yeah, but man, it's like 8 years and plus 4 years of college, and it's like, and you want to become enlightened? I mean, and you're serious about it? It is much more than becoming a doctor and going through years and years of college. It is lifelong. And these I have actually had people ask me, okay, can is there like a weekend course or something, and I'm like, oh man,
Weekend course.
No, yeah.
If you're doing
Is
it
there
for
like
fucking
a weekend course, like a shortcut that I can take? No, there's no shortcuts. No, the truth is it is a long road filled with many pitfalls, and you're going to take every one of them. Now it's
not only that, but it's actually amazing that people ask for enlightenment rather than what they ask me for, because with magic, people don't. The magic that I teach is for spiritual evolution. Okay, but like in people's minds, all they see is this Harry Potter shit. You know what I'm saying? And they want like mundane things. And it's like, that is not what magic is for. Like, you can use it to get the things that you need and stuff like that, but it's so you can concentrate on your spirit. Like evolving your spirit. And another thing that people don't understand is you have to go through shit. Like, everybody at a certain time, whether you're a magician or not, travels through the abyss. And you have to go through these things. You have to be tested. Like, magic isn't about making your life rainbows and unicorns. It's about
No, it is.
understanding. It's about understanding your place in the universe and how everything works. And with that knowledge, it helps you to survive through all of that.
Well, they asked me, you tell me, I want to become enlightened. So, okay, now when you say that, you're telling me that most likely from a standpoint because you don't understand what you're saying. What when you say that, what you're actually saying, if you really knew or had the knowledge of what that really means, is when you say I want to become enlightened, saying I want to destroy myself. Now that's truth, but it's not as it sounds. Now think about it. Everyone in history that has ever been enlightened, when they were, their life was shitty and ended badly. Why? Because this is this this world system is does not shine brightly on anyone that is enlightened, that that has true power and knows, no, like you said, knowing themselves, know thyself, and um, like the Bible says, what is the key? He is destroying the old man, the sinful man, the destroying that part within you that is the selfish, the me, that the ego. It's just like Jesus. He said, "For the Son of Man must be, will be lifted up as Moses lifted up the serpent on the pole or the cross in the wilderness. So must the Son of Man be lifted up, and if so, I will draw all men unto me." Now, what that means is he's saying that he's saying the Son of Man. And if you notice that he never says the Son of God must be lifted up, Son of Man, which is the ego, the Son of Man, that part of me that does not serve a higher self, God, must be lifted up on the cross, as Moses lifted up the serpent in the desert. And if you think about it, the only thing that you can do on a cross is die. A man must be lifted up and must die, must be crucified, must be killed. And so, where was Jesus crucified? At the place of the skull, Golgotha. Okay, what skull? Your skull, my skull, General Lee's skull, everybody's skull that sits where? On top of the pole, on top of your spinal column. Between what? Two temples. The temple of God is in your brain, is in your skull. And there you have it. I mean, that's that's the that's the short story. That's like the cliff notes of all spiritual um, enlightenment, power, or whatever is you what you now for most what you now view as being you. It has to go bye bye. It has to go bye bye. And let me tell you, I'm just at the tip of the iceberg, and it is painful. It is not. It is not something that you enjoy. It is filled with tears and just man, you just cannot imagine how it hurts, and it's a painful process. And have the people that say, "When did you become enlightened?" I'm like, whoa, Lee Harvey, back off, like me enlightened? Oh my God, no, I'm still the one that when the light doesn't change fast enough, I have a steering wheel fit. It's like dude, I'm not even, I'm not even on the waiting list. It's like, my God, people are like, oh, well, I thought that you levitated from room to room instead of walking. I'm like, yeah, well, think again. Like,
Just on a weekend only text.
yeah, it's like, I am not even Yoda yet. It's like, dude.
And it's not, it isn't just painful. It's a very lonely journey, an extremely lonely journey, because I always tell like my students, I said, expect to go against the world, because
Absolutely.
like the world is not going to accept you for thinking for yourself and for trying to become spiritually evolved, and they're not going to understand. And a lot of the people that I've taught, they've come back to me and they'll be like, yo man, they're like, I was talking with my coworkers and I just had nothing to say to them, and it's just like, it's going to be the same with friends, family, lovers. Like, they're not going to understand you, so they're going to drop off. I mean, there are going to be some that are just going to accept you for who you are and just be like, hey, that's whoever that is, like whatever. But it's there's not going to be a lot of connection, and it's going to be rare. Even amongst other practitioners, I've found people who did not believe the things that I've gone through. I've had people who have spoken against me when I was just kind of like, for example, I was at the beginning of my path, and I was studying about the Holy Guardian Angel. So a lot of this stuff was happening to me, and I was just trying to understand what was going on. And so, like, my only way of contacting was via internet, all these magical chat rooms and stuff like that. And so I ended up having this dream vision where something asked me what I wanted. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, I mean, like, I've been studying about my holy guardian angel, and so I would like to meet my holy guardian angel. And I got it. And so when I was trying to speak to a practitioner about the whole experience and trying to understand, what the holy guardian angel is, this is happening, has anybody ever gone through an experience similar to what I went through? People were like, oh no, they were like, you can't do that. You have to go through the Abramelin method and all this other stuff, and basically hating on me. So it's like, you can't even trust other sorcerers or witches or other practitioners or other people who think that they're enlightened. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how your life is. My life is constant isolation because, one, either I don't want to deal with people or the people don't want to deal with me.
Of course, one thing is one question I have is do you think that there are Nephilim or people that are watcher human hybrids that are among us today, and have you experienced that?
Yes, I believe that there are Nephilim here. I believe that there are Watchers here. I believe that there are demons here, all in corporeal form. The angels have told me that they perfected the way that they create Nephilim. The giants were first generation, and they were when they were experimenting on people to see how fast they could evolve and what way was most efficient. Okay, so the giants were crazy, and that's why they were eating people and very violent and stuff, and they were done away with. But the Nephilim were second generation. Then you had the third generation, which were the Eliud. I think I'm pronouncing it right. I'm not sure.
Yes,
Um,
I brought this up. Sorry to interrupt there, mate. I brought
no,
this up recently with Grub. Actually, text, you know Grub, don't you?
Right.
And we sort of we're thinking Bigfoot, possibly Eliud, maybe. I don't know.
well, the thing is
This would be more.
that
This would be more like people that would blend in. You know.
yes, but those are there too. There are physical bloodlines of angels, but there are also spiritual bloodlines. For example, with my practice, there's a practice where you can harmonize with these angels, and you become one of the watchers in a spiritual sense. But because we are earthly beings, we become a mixture of heavenly as well as earthly, which makes us Nephilim. And that's the way they perfected the process.
You know, one thing that the Bible says repeats, I mean, over and over and over again, the life is in the blood. You know, it places so much focus on the blood because the life is in the blood. Well, what is the life? Spirit. Spirit is in the blood. You know, and I just you know, one thing about me is of course generally knows this is you know, years ago, like in 2002, 2003, my you know, wife and I at the time we were, you know, trying to have, you know, children, and were, you know, having problems. So we went to the best you know, fertility doctors. It was a husband and wife team in the world. I mean, just world renowned. And we had, you know, blood tests, you know, genetic tests done, and my wife, her, you know, test came back, and they, you know, read them and fine. They read my blood test, and they said, "Oh," they said, "this is really usual." They said, "That you have a rare blood type." I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "How rare?" And they said, "Most rare." Turns out that I'm Rh null, and since 1961, there's been less than like 20 people that have been that have had Rh null blood, and when they you know, cracked open my you know, genetic test, the doctor doctors said, "Sorry, but your test has been compromised." I said, "Oh, how?" And well, I don't know. He says, "But he says, this is just completely." He says, it's been compromised in some ways because this is just all over the place. It makes no sense. Just so we'll do another test, and he says, and, you know, see you in a week. So so far so good, you know. So went back the next week, and it was the doctor and his wife, also a doctor, and their nurse. And they're sitting at this table, and they crack open my second genetic test. And when he pulled it out, the nurse just literally gasped. I mean, her eyes got as big as saucers. She jumped back, and the two doctors, they were just silent, just, you know, like they had seen a ghost or the devil. I don't know. it was freaky, man. I mean, the mood in the room changed instantly. I mean, completely changed. And I said, "What was that?" And he says, "What?" And I said, "I saw that." I said, "I saw her," and pointing to the nurse. I said, "I saw her reaction." I said, "What did you see?" He wouldn't even talk. And he said, "I I don't know what to say." He said, "I've never seen anything like this." He said, "Your genetic test results are the same." He said, "All over the place." He said, "Do you mind if we fax?" Of course, this was 2000 2003. Do you mind if we fax the test results to our mentor, who's a geneticist in Chicago? Maybe he can, figure out what's going on. I said, "Sure, it doesn't matter to me." He said, "Okay, be back in, 30, 45 minutes." So, wife and I were sitting there, and she said, "Oh, I'm really feeling uncomfortable." She said, "Like, everything changed." I said, "Yeah, me too." I said, "And if men in hazmat suits with rifles busted through the wall right now, it really wouldn't surprise me." I'm like,
You know,
"Hey, they were they were literally looking at me like I had just turned into an alien gray or something." I'm serious. I mean,
Yeah, like they would take you to a
all
black
the
site.
yeah, it's like, dude. I mean, I'm serious. I mean, it was like I was in like a bad dream, and all the friendliness and everything was gone. I mean, they kept their distance. There was no more smiles, nothing. I mean, it was like they were looking at, a national security threat. And I'm thinking,
if
what the
anything, Tex,
hell
right,
going on?
that is very unprofessional from to act the way they acted. Very
Yeah, but
unprofessional.
I'm thinking, are they seeing something that I'm not seeing? It's like, I'm thinking, okay, do I look like Darth Sidious? Am I red and black with like horns coming out of my head?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that would
The
be
fucking dope as
what
fuck
they were
look like
looking
you
at,
on it.
probably.
Hmm.
And but he came back in and said, I said, "So what did he say?" And he said, "Well," said said at first he said he literally thought it was a joke. He said he told me he almost had me. He says, "But good one." He says, "No," he said, "This is no joke. Test results that I sent you," he says, "are of a man that's with his wife, and they're sitting in my office now, waiting for your thoughts." And he said, "Told me if this is no joke, if you're serious, then the one sitting in your office is not a man." And I'm like, "Dude, are
The
you
doctor said that to
serious?"
him. Wow.
Doctor said that to me. Bona fide. I mean, dude, if I'm lying, I am dying. I mean, I am serious. I have a witness that would, I'm serious. I mean, it is, can't make this up. I mean, it's like, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I know what surreal is, but this is a bit much. I mean, it's like living or experiencing like something that you would like, I don't know, maybe dream about or daydream about. Like, I had to pinch myself to find out, is this really happening? And he said, I said, "So not," I said, I've always known I was different, but this is a little much." And he says, "Yeah." He says, "Well," he says, "your blood type is the most rare of all blood
Gold
types."
blood.
And
Original gold blood.
but yeah, yeah, they call it the golden blood. But he says, "But compared to your genetics, said your that's not what's rare." He said, "Your genetic results." He says, "Your genetic makeup, your genetic markers," he said, are more astounding than or more rare or whatever it is in your blood type. And he said, I I don't he says, I don't know what to say. He says, but there is no, and seriously, he was looking me right in the eye. He says, there is no, by all known biological, medical, scientific standards, there is no way. And I really had to pull this out of him, because he was wanting to tell me, but wouldn't. And I said, dude, just tell me. I can take it. Tell me. I don't hold back. And he says, by all known biological, medical, scientific, standards, he said, there is no way to be classified as a human being. I'm serious. And I've said this since, publicly since I started my podcast 3 years ago. And I'm like, okay, well, if I'm not human, then what am I? And he said, we simply don't know. He says, but your genetic makeup, your genetic markers, he said, they are all over the place. He said, completely different from human. And he said, now you appear human. He said, he says, looking at you, he said, there's nothing that says, but no, he said, there is genetically at the core that things are anything but. And I'm like, okay, all right. And so I said, so you're telling me I can't have children? And he said, no, you can have children. He says, but only with a woman like you. And I said, okay. And I said, and what would that? And my wife was probably like, oh shit, did I pick a winner? I won the lottery. It's like, and I'm going, yeah, this is, and said, he said, no, he says, you can have children, but only with a woman like you. And I said, okay. And I said, and what's that like? He says, that would be like finding one grain of sand on this earth. He said, and I said, so really what you're saying is I'm never going to have children. And he said, basically, yeah, but if you find a woman like you, I'm thinking, dude, I can't find my ass with both hands. I mean, I'm not going to find the one grain of sand on the planet. Give me a break. I might be inhuman, but I'm not that good. And it's like, so he says, okay, just sit tight and be back in about 15 minutes. And so we're sitting there, and I tell my wife, I said, you know what? I said, I am really feeling threatened. I said, I don't feel right. I said, I think we need to go. So we got out of there. I mean, it's like, dude, I thought 15 minutes. It gives him time to call, or if he hasn't already, and they're like,
Good shout, text, mate. I'd have got out as well.
Felt a lot of pressure, a lot of negativity, and so about years later is about like 3 years later, I 2 or 3 years later, I called that doctor's office, and that world renowned clinic that they've helped so many people. I mean, all over the world have children. And I said, I gave my name and the date I was there and the dates I was there. And I said I would like to get my test result copies and of my genetic test, my blood test, and everything. So it's put on hold forever. The woman came back. She said, "I'm sorry, sir." Said there was a storm last year that damaged the building. There was water damage, and your records were part of the records that were destroyed. I'm like, so there's
That's
no way I
bullshit,
can
that,
get
mate,
those.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's bullshit. That was like another way of saying we sent your test results to the NSA, the CIA, and it's like, oh, okay, so there's no way I can get them. No, sir, we don't have them. They were destroyed by water. And I'm like, okay, that's all I have to say, and that was that. So it's like if that since that was my experience, and I'm telling you, the look on their faces, said everything. They didn't have to say anything. I mean, just see the shock. It was like, hey, I mean, they were so scared, like afraid. I mean, seriously. And I wasn't threatening them in any way at all.
Well,
But
I know you're not like that
um,
anyway, Tex, That's just
no,
not you, is
and
it?
it's like, no, not at all. But it's like it's weird because I have read, it's like, whenever I was a child, I would, read about, Genesis 6. I was always drawn to that, for some reason. It's like, sounds weird, but it's like having a memory of something you never experienced,
Sure.
or did you,
Yeah, yeah.
and
I think you've got a point there, mate.
I,
Got a
I
point.
don't know, I might be deranged, I might be insane, but
You're not, mate. That's all.
Hey, if you're insane, I'm insane. Because I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff that's going on, and it's been popping up more recent. It's been popping up like more and more recently. Like you've had this since COVID happened. You've had a lot of people who've had spiritual awakenings. Like I've met too many people who have talked about, who have been in touch with their own personal spirits, who have told me that there are angels and there are demons in human form walking around. I've had spirits tell me the same thing. So it's kind of like if you have multiple sources telling you these things and they have no reason to lie to you, you know, you have to look into those things, and you have to at least be open to believing that.
Yeah, I agree, mate. Just one. I know it's sort of slightly going off topic, but it isn't. It isn't. You know how we recently you've gone mentioning first generation, second, third, fourth. Sorry, what was the first generation again?
Okay, so in the Book of Enoch, it says the first generation were the giants, and the giants may not have been literal giants. If you go to a couple sources and look at the footnotes, it says that giants may have represented men who were famous. They were giants, as in like they were very popular.
That's exactly what I have said for years, and I've said it publicly, and I caught a lot of flack over it. And there were these pro giant people that were like, no, there were giants that were 20, 25 feet tall and enormous, and you're just misinformed. I said no. I said what that is a mistranslation. I said it was mistranslated. It was taken the wrong way. I said that was talking about men who were renowned. The Bible even uses the word renowned. That well known, famous, their name was known. And I said, and it is not talking about literal giants. It's talking about people, men that owned corporations, what we know now as corporations, and had that power on Earth, you know, just exactly what you said, you know, famous, you know,
Yeah.
powerful
Well,
men.
it doesn't make sense for them to be literal giants either, because how would they be able to procreate with women if they were
Exactly.
like gigantic?
Exactly, mate.
You know,
No,
so
Exactly.
exactly what I told you like 2 weeks ago. I said it would be impossible for a 20-foot, or I said even a 12-foot giant to
Definitely
procreate
bigger than
with
the
a
woman, wasn't
woman.
it?
Wow, there's no way.
so yeah, so these giants, they were first generation in the book of Enoch, and you know, it was explaining why they were considered giants and they were famous. Because back then, when you had mankind that was basically caveman status, you know, they didn't know how to like come together as tribes, they didn't know how to like farm, they didn't know how to do shit back then. um you had these beings that were okay, so like during that time everything was a danger
Casanovas,
as well, so it was just like,
Casanovas.
yeah, but you had like lions, you had all kinds of animals that would kill you. So they became giants because you had these human-like beings that came, they destroyed these things that were dangerous to human beings, and they helped to establish civilizations. And that's what made them famous. That's what made them renowned. They were able to do things that regular human beings were not able to. They were smarter than regular human beings. And then on top of that, they were teaching human beings how to survive better.
Right.
And that's what made them
Yeah.
giants.
I get you, mate. Yeah. And so second generation is Nephilim.
Yes. Nephilim the second generation.
Third generation is Iliad.
Yes.
Is there a fourth generation that we know of?
I don't really know if they have a name, but I just feel that Nephilim is the best way to go, because
Right.
Nephilim
Okay.
represents the mixture between earthly beings as well as heavenly beings. And so
Right.
that's just the term that, you know, I use in general.
Yeah. I mean, you know, right. This is just my opinion. I mean, I'm learning, constantly learning. It's all fascinating to me, but I honestly believe we're all, in a way, hybrid entities. Reason I say that is, I mean, look at reptilians or a reptile. We've got part of our brains, reptilian brain. So, I mean, look at our skin, waterproof. You know, does that make us a hybrid entity?
Well, the thing is that even we have the same kind of makeup as a fly. It's just rearranged differently.
It's mad, isn't it? I
You know
know.
what I'm saying? And that
Yeah.
that just goes to show how we're all connected to source. How like we're all basically the same thing, and we're just different from one another because we're reconfigured differently.
Yeah.
from the same stuff.
It's fucking crazy, isn't it? Think about it. Like, you're right, how similar we are, but at the same time, we're not. It is, we're all so unique. I mean, every creature is unique in its own way.
Yeah.
Like everything's got a purpose.
And you know, like we were talking before, like that's why we can't really judge one another. We don't know where we come from. We don't know how we're connected. We don't know what the other person or the other entity has to offer. You know, what place they have in this universe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true, mate. True.
And it's like when you start working with the spirits do not give a damn about color, culture, even religion. Like, only if the religion makes them seem like the bad guys may they like have a problem with it. But other than that, like, they don't care. They don't care what God you worship. They don't care how you worship, unless they have their own certain standards, and you make it your choice to worship them. And I've always had this thing, like, if you're not coming to kill me, I don't care what you do. I don't care about your religion. I don't care about your sexual orientation. I don't care about your color. Like, you can even hate me. I can respect that, as long as you're not coming to get in the way of what I do or trying to kill me.
I get you, mate. I get you. Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, even in a universal standpoint, there are forces that come against one another. It's just bound to happen. It's part of nature. So, like, even that you have to accept.
Yeah. Mate. This is what I mean. This is why. I mean, it doesn't take much to get me fascinated, but really, really, you start looking into certain things, and it's just continuous. Then you'll find something else, then you'll find something else, and that's what makes it fascinating to me. It's like as if I'm learning everything from scratch.
Yeah, it's going down the rabbit.
We weren't taught in school. I don't know what it was in school, what they taught us, but it was nothing that's relevant, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. We're all different, aren't we?
And that's a beautiful thing. Variety is the spice of life. I don't want everybody to be like me. That would be boring.
I think, you took the words out of my mouth there, mate. If we were all the same, the world would be a boring place.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's refreshing to have people, and this was like the same thing that New York Patriot was talking about, how we have different paths, but people like us can come to the same conclusions. It's like talking to Tex. Tex has taught me stuff because he knows things that I don't know. And it's cool that we can agree upon so much. Yeah. Like we come from different backgrounds and stuff. We do our own studies. And, we have this conversation where we hit on so many points of similarity. That's a beautiful thing. And, like, you have your own stuff, Lee, like that you get into, and your own like studies, and what you do is important. Like, just having your podcast with all these quote unquote weird guests.
Oh, my guests are incredible, mate. I love every single one is incredible in their own way. And that's, I mean, like today.
That's an amazing thing. You're like a nexus for people, because like you just draw them together, and then like you like, let's go at it. Let's just have this conversation.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Was great, really.
Thank you very much, lads.
It's like uncensored. Like, nobody has to worry about. This is how I feel. Like, I don't feel judged for speaking my truth, and I'm not here to judge other people their truth.
Exactly,
and
right.
That's how it should be,
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Right, lads. Incredible episode. Thank you very much. Would you like to let everybody know where they can get hold of you, please? Zero?
Sure. I'm on YouTube, Demonosophy and Beyond. That is the name of my YouTube channel. My Gmail address is derelictdemon, all one word, @gmail.com. I also have a publishing company which is called Divine Umbra Publishing. Umbra being UMBRA, which is where I sell my book digitally. But just go on to my YouTube channel, go to the About page, and there will be links for the book as well as the services that I offer.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. I'll add all the links and that's at show notes, etc. Zero. Tex?
Yes, you can.
Let everybody know they get hold of you, please, sir.
Yes, you can reach me at the podcast@gmail.com, or you can just do a Google search, the Texas Live. I'm on 300 plus platforms. Just take your pick of which one you want to listen to, and so just contact me. If you have any questions or comments or just like to talk, and be more than happy to chat with you.
Oh, mate. Thank you, gentlemen. Well, seriously mind-blowing. And like I said, I can't thank you enough. That was, I enjoyed that. Thank you very much. What I'll do now is I'm going to stop recording. Yeah, thanks, mate. Thanks, Zero, and thanks, Tex.
Hey, it was great being here.
Let's see. You had that your email is derelict demon, DEL ER. Wait a minute.
DEREL ICTDEMON @gmail.com.
Okay.
But I think like
Right.
if you go to my YouTube, I think my my Gmail address is there too. So
I've sent it in the group, Zero. I've just sent it over. Tex.
Cool. Thank you.
It messages, mate. No problem. Right, lads, I'm going to start recording now.